All right. September 30th, 2025. First thing I want to go over tonight was the attack on the Mormon Church in Grand Blanc, Michigan, or Grand Blanc Township, Michigan. Now, this was a 40-year-old Marine Corps veteran who decided that it was a good idea to take his truck, his Chevy Silverado with two giant American flags on the back with a bunch of IEDs inside, drive it through the church, jump out, and start shooting people. Now, what did he do? He ended up killing he killed 3 people other than himself. He died in the hail of gunfire. I believe it was a natural resources officer that actually took him out. But the motive, nobody is absolutely certain as to why it is that he went in there and did this. There is evidence that he spoke to other people prior to this, all the way back in 2010. He had a girlfriend that was a Mormon, and he actually considered joining the Mormon Church at that period, during that period of time, but decided against it apparently because he didn't join the Mormon Church, and he believed they were the Antichrist because that's what I believe was a councilwoman, Carrie Johns, that he spoke to and said that Mormonism is the Antichrist. Well, what is the Antichrist? So we can clear this up because a lot of people don't know what the Antichrist is. Okay, there is a specific man who is going to be the Antichrist, but the Antichrist specifically is this: someone that is in place of Christ. So anyone who's out there being the way, the truth, and the life. So if Mormonism as a church is claiming to be the way, the truth, and the life, they are the Antichrist. But they're not the Antichrist. In specific, the person who is going to be the man who claims to be Christ himself. Now, there are plenty of other people that claim to be Christ, but are not Jesus Christ. They are not the second coming of Christ. This guy believed that Mormonism was actually the Antichrist himself, or the embodiment of what it is to be the Antichrist. Now, previously, this man was arrested for burglary and OWI, and he was an Iraq war veteran, but he was not a combat veteran in that he wasn't like an 0311, or he wasn't some kind of a combat type person. He was a automotive vehicle mechanic. He worked for 2nd Maintenance Battalion down on Camp Lejeune between 04 and 08. He was actually down there when I was simultaneously at the same time over on New River at HMH 464 and a couple other heavy Marine helicopter squadrons. But he did go to war in Iraq. He did receive some various medals from the Marine Corps for his service over there. Clearly, this guy had some kind of a mental problem. He was a Trump supporter, but I don't believe his political affiliations had anything to do with why he attacked the Mormon Church. He did go in there and he killed, one of the people that he killed was John Bond, who was a 77-year-old Vietnam veteran. So obviously, I don't think he went in there and just started killing people because of any one specific in the church. He believed Mormonism was the Antichrist. That looks like it's his motive. So he was going there to take out the Antichrist in his mind. Now, if we have any updates beyond that, I've not seen anything. I went through several different articles about this. This was the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is a Mormon church. All right? How did this guy, I don't know what he was thinking. He's got a bunch of bombs in his trunk. Now, there was no explosions, but he brought gasoline with him, and he burned down probably about 80 to 90% of the church. So this guy, I don't think he thought he was coming home. He went out there to commit this act of violence against this church. Now, I don't agree with the religion. Now, are they an Antichrist religion? Well, I don't believe they're the true Christianity. So, yeah, they are in replacement of Jesus Christ. If they're saying they're the way, the truth, and the life. The true religion is the way, the truth, and the life. That religion is Jesus Christ. And the embodiment of that is his church. It is the word of God that they preach. That is the real Christ. The real Christ is the word of God. They're not preaching the word of God. So if they're saying that they're the way to heaven, then they're the Antichrist in that respect. But you don't go out and you just start murdering everybody. That's definitely not Christian. I don't care who you are. There's nothing about Christianity, even when the apostles, what Jesus Christ sliced off the ear of Malchus, which is the the high priest's servant, it was his specific guard, and Jesus Christ was telling him that this was supposed to happen. You're not supposed to do that. And when Jesus, or I think it was Peter again, that said it another time, that we were going to, should we call down fire from the sky to take these people out? And I can't even remember really the scenario, but it was like Elijah. He says, you know not what manner of spirit you're of. When Elijah was doing that, when he was calling down fire out of the sky, those people were going to kill him. And then it just so happened that the captain and his 50 that had come, the last one, God had sent him the message, or told Elijah, like, go with this guy, he's not going to hurt you. So apparently the ones before them, they were going to do that. So that's why Elijah did that. But the manner of spirit we are of is not to go out and kill people indiscriminately. We don't have authority to do that as Christians. It says, the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God, and vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. So if there's anybody that's going to be taken out, God has given the government the sword, to take care of evildoers. That's not our job as Christians to do that. So if he was going out there in any way as a Christian to take out the Antichrist religion, right. And that is not what the Bible teaches. You are not supposed to do that. Our wrath does not work the righteousness of God. It is not upon us to go out and to do that. We don't have the authority to do it. The only thing Christians have the authority to do, over your own household, what do? You can judge your own household, but obviously you're not going to do it with the sword. You're not going to go in there and shoot people up because they're not listening to you. And obviously a pastor is not going to do that either. They don't have the authority to do that. That's of the government. The government is given the sword by God so that they can punish evildoers. And what that guy did was completely and totally antithetical to the Christian religion. But, all right, I'm going to move on with that. The man's name, I wasn't even going to mention it, but it was Thomas Jacob Sanford. His family has actually come out and said they're extremely sorry, and they're going through a lot of issue with this too because they don't really know why it happened. And as of yet, he has not directly spoken as to what his motives were. Everything has just been ascertained from his previous views that he has given to people. That's all that we've got. All right. Moving on. Here's another former Marine yesterday, and he fired into a crowd off of a boat in Southport, North Carolina. What is it with Marine veterans right now? Now, I'm sure there's other ones that I haven't looked up. I just happened to come across this one, and he killed 3 and injured 5. So some Marine vet off a boat is just randomly shooting at people, killing them down there in Southport, North Carolina, and no one has any idea why he did that either. So we're looking for a motive in that one. Just lots of chaos going on right now. We got some guy down here in Texas, Joshua Cole. Now, he has been charged because he didn't actually commit any violent acts, but he went onto Facebook and said that we needed to go shoot up a pride parade, or that he was going to go shoot up a pride parade in Abilene, Texas. And he said, come on, bro. As this is one of his posts, I believe it was probably one of his friends. He said, come on, bro, let's go shoot some fairies. And we need to lock and load, and we need to go out, and we need to take these guys out in vengeance for revenge for Charlie Kirk's shooting. Again, these things are ridiculous. You don't do this. Now, I don't know what this guy's political affiliations are, but I'm going to assume that he is a Republican, or I'd say at least assume that he was of the same views as Charlie Kirk, but he was definitely not of the same mind Charlie Kirk. Because if you look at what Charlie Kirk said, it was never about violence. He wanted discourse for political views to be determined in the marketplace of ideas as to whether what is right and what is wrong based on the foundational arguments. And the only time he really severely disagreed with people was when they had views that were not within the realm of logic. They were completely constructed out of thin air. That's why when he was talking about transsexuals, there was such a big problem with that, because they have a completely constructed reality and saying that you're something that you're not. You cannot construct a reality and then demand other people agree to your delusion. And that we should pretend that you're... And I've even heard transsexuals themselves say it. Just pretend. Well, this isn't pretend. This is reality. Okay? We have to live in reality because this is where we have to do things. If we're going to pretend things, then we can do that on our own, off with our own people. Like, I can pretend with my, grandchildren that we're having a tea party or that there's some kind of event and we're doing it in the house. Okay, I get that. We're adults. When we're out in public, I'm not going to tell you that you're a man if you're a woman or you're a woman if you're a man. That's ridiculous. And the same goes with anything else that's constructed out of non-reality, something that's just made up. So this guy was thinking about going out and killing all these people, or just going out and taking pot shots at people at a pride parade in Abilene, Texas. Just absolutely ridiculous, and definitely not of the views that Charlie Kirk espoused. He would definitely have not have agreed with those things. So to say you're going out there and revenge for him is just asinine. Moving on. This is a really, really big one here. Okay, Russia. There's been leaked by a hacker group documents pertaining to an operation known as Sword 208 in China, and the hacker group was Black Moon. What they leaked was documentation that Russia was providing strategic help, and they were actually going to provide the weapons and equipment for an amphibious assault on Taiwan that is proposed to be done likely by 2027. Now, obviously, China has been claiming in the One China policy that Taiwan is theirs for years. However, Taiwan remains independent. So, the United States, in their stance, and also the UK, they're relatively ambiguous in this as to whether or not they're going to come to the defense of Taiwan in respect to an invasion by China. So, I believe the ambiguity in policy is going to have to become a little bit more definitive in the very near future, because if this is actually going to happen, it's going to have some serious effects on world trade, because there's about $2.6 trillion worth of trade going through the South China Sea, and a lot of it includes that strait down there and with Taiwan. So if China is actually going to go and invade there, and we're actually in war, or could possibly be in war with Russia on another front over in the Ukraine, that's going to cause some serious problems. But I don't want to say even but here. This is, this could very well be a part of World War III. The inevitability of it is becoming clearer and clearer. Now, I think we all knew eventually there was going to be another world war. When you look at the geopolitical situation and you understand that there's a lot of people out there, or a lot of countries out there, vying for position in this new one world government that's going to come to pass. A lot of them do want to be a part of it, and a lot of them don't want to be a part of it, or they want to be in charge of it. So I think everybody's putting their chess pieces together here. So in the end, there's going to be a one world government. That's biblical. There's going to be a third world war. That's 100% biblical. So all these things are going to come to pass. Now, whether or not we're going to be here when they happen, as far as the end times eschatology is concerned, that remains to be seen. But the possibility of having another world war prior to that is also, right here in the mix, and we're in the middle of it. So I think we need to prepare our minds and just prepare ourselves as a country and as a people that these possibilities are becoming a reality in the very near future, because China, I think, is not going to stop here. Obviously, they've been working behind the scenes on this for quite a while. This is not something they're doing on a whim. They've been preparing for this, and they've been telling everybody openly that they have been preparing for this. Taiwan clearly does not want this to happen, but seeing as how we're literally going to have to send troops over there to defend them, if we're going to go ahead and protect them in this case, there's going to be a lot of strategy involved in that as well. And I don't think that's going to be open to the public. I think this is going to be done. A lot of it's going to be done behind the scenes with the generals of the Pentagon and Donald Trump. And it's going to be 2027 is going to be before he's out of office. It's going to be before there's even another election here in the United States. It's quite a while before he'd be out of office. He would be in this office while this war commenced, and probably. I don't know definitively as to what the time frame is they were looking at, but you can go look up the documents and look up Sword 208. I'm going to go back and read it myself. I just wanted to put that out there. Another thing that I wanted to talk about here tonight, just real quick, tons and tons and tons of conspiracies surrounding the Charlie Kirk assassination. I've looked at all the videos that were available out there. Some of them were actually isolated to just Candace Owens, where she had received them, and she only actually spoke about them. You didn't get to see them all. But a lot of these conspiracies are talking about these anomalies that are down there underneath the tent with the security team or with the people in the crowd, but none of them are linked back to Tyler Robinson. And I still believe that that man is the one that took the shot. And at this point, I'm beginning to believe that he did shoot him with a 30-06, that Mauser 98 that has been taken in by evidence from by the police there. He actually talked about in text coming back to get the weapon and was unable to retrieve it because he ran into the police there. And the text prior to the assassination saying that he was going to have the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk. I believe that these were not made up. I don't believe this is some kind of FBI cover-up. I don't believe there was an operation here that was above and beyond what is of face value. That this man just did not like the views of Charlie Kirk, and he went in there and he did what he thought he had to do to stop Charlie Kirk from speaking out against transsexuals and against that, that lifestyle. That's just what happened. Look at the guy in Texas. Is it so hard to believe that this guy was a right-leaning person? He would have to be, in my opinion. I mean, obviously, I don't know his political affiliations. I've already said that. But he's talking about going out and attacking a pride parade. Now, I generally don't know too many leftists that are going to do that. So I'm going to assume this guy is on the right. All right, maybe I'm taking a big leap, but I don't think so. And he was willing to go out and do this in revenge for Charlie Kirk. And I found that, generally speaking, the people on the right are going to be more level-headed. They're going to be more willing to talk to you about things. And they're going to be less willing to go out and just pick up a gun and start shooting at you. That's generally what you find. And the reason that the statistics show opposite, that there's more right-wing violence, is how they categorize it. I've already talked about this before. There's a lot of things they don't categorize as political violence, so that it cannot be looked at in the statistics to be said that the left is committing more of it than the right is. But the truth of the matter is, in this case, regardless of this man's political affiliations in that respect, just talking about, in general, the right and the left, not talking about any specific person, you're going to find that there's going to be more people on the right that are going to be less willing to go out and just pick up a weapon and go firing at you. But this guy, he was willing to do it, even though he was right-leaning, I believe, and even the MAGA guy up there with the Mormon Church. All right, now I don't believe it had anything to do with the political affiliation, but still yet, we're talking about a man who just decided that the people that are within that church were a part of this Antichrist religion, and he needed to go in there and stop it and to take them out. So why is it so hard to believe that someone on the other side of the aisle, especially that's a far left person, he's an extreme leftist, was willing to go out and commit violence? I see it all the time on videos where there's right-wing people out there or just political conservatives out there giving street interviews, and they're being attacked at random by people that just don't agree with their views. Why is it so hard to believe that there was someone out there that just took it upon himself to go shoot Charlie Kirk because he thought he was going to be a martyr for a cause, to prove a point that you can't just continue to speak about these things openly and expect that there's not going to be violent retribution? These people have been propagandized to believe that. They've been brought into this scenario because they've been told that they are being attacked by words which are violence, and that they need to go ahead and go out and use violence as revenge for that or in retribution for that, to stop those people from speaking. That's what they've been told. They've propagandized with on the left. And they've been setting the stage, that I've talked about with Maxine Waters. Go out there and engage them. Let them know that they're not welcome. Jasmine Crockett, again, I need to hit your opponents over the head. All right, hitting Ted Cruz over the head. We need to punch him. We need to punch him. So the truth is that it's an absolute certainty that there are going to be people that are going to do this. So in this scenario, I am saying that after I've looked at all of this evidence repeatedly, hours upon hours and upon hours, and I've listened to the conspiracy theories, and none of the conspiracy theories sit with me as something that could be linked to Tyler Robinson. And if you can't link that to Tyler Robinson, then it doesn't matter. The rest of it doesn't matter. There's no way that simultaneously, without the knowledge of Tyler Robinson being up there on top of that rooftop, firing this weapon, that the security team was in unison taking them out at the exact same time. And I don't believe the security team, which was, this is not a hired outside group. These were actually friends of Charlie Kirk. No motive to take him out other than what Candace Owens might have been talking about, or was talking about, that there could have been some kind of monetary issues within TPUSA that were going to be investigated. I just don't believe that those people, regardless of that, would go and try to take out their friend, Charlie Kirk. I believe that they did not properly go out there and vet the area and stick people in strategic positions, that you had roamers out. And this is my personal opinion, because this is what I would have done. But so, in this case, I believe they should have had roamers out there. I believe they should have had people watching rooftops, because the death threats they had already had were real. I just don't think that they thought, I don't believe that they thought that it was that imminent, that it was going to be somebody on a rooftop with a sniper rifle. But I think they should have believed that. Look at Thomas Crooks. All right, look at Ryan Ralph. The Trump assassination attempts. Both of them. So, in this case, I believe, again, face value here. This man just did not agree with what Charlie Kirk was saying, and he went in there and he just took him out. That's what he did. And that's the end of it. There's plenty of evidence leading up to it, and even though they don't have a ton of physical evidence, they do have some physical evidence with the DNA on the towel. They have the DNA, I believe, on the bullets. They have the DNA on the gun. And if they can link that, those bullets, metallurgically, to the one that they found in Charlie Kirk's neck, then there you go. It's a slam dunk at that point. But we haven't got there yet. Now, people were saying, well, we haven't got the autopsy report. Proposed, in this case, that the medical examiner is basically going to say the same thing the autopsy report says. Now, we don't have it yet, so that's not definitive, but I don't think that it's going to go much further than what the medical examiner has already reported as to how the bullet went in, and maybe a little more specific. But the truth of the matter is, if you can metallurgically match the bullet that they got out of Charlie Kirk's neck with the ones that the FBI has, then that to me is a rock solid case. Now, what I don't like is this. The bullet didn't go through his neck. Okay. Is it possible for a 30-06 round to not go through his neck? Yeah, it is. It's unlikely, still possible. But if we actually had pictures of the rounds like we got from the anti-ICE shooting down there in Dallas, Texas, which happened the very next day, we had pictures of the rounds. Why don't we have pictures of these rounds? Is it because of the rhetoric that's been engraved onto the shells or onto the casings? Maybe so. But there was the anti-ICE rhetoric that was on those shells that they showed us from Dallas, Texas. So why don't we get to see the pictures of the shells that they got, the bullets that they pulled off of that roof, or that they got from the gun? Now, I don't remember if they said the casing was actually on the roof, but I do know that there were bullets that were still in the Mauser 98 that they found. That is what they said. So if we get pictures of those, maybe we can determine what type of rounds they were. Maybe there were these fragnable rounds that destroyed themselves or obliterated once they hit their target. That's a good possibility. Why isn't that a possibility? I think there's a lot left to be said with the evidence that has not yet been revealed by the FBI, all the specifics here. So I think that the conspiracies are just going wild. People are going nuts with this. This is not the JFK assassination in that respect. There was tons and tons of stuff about the assassination of JFK that did not make sense. A person shooting from a rooftop a couple hundred yards away at Charlie Kirk, when they actually have video of him running off the roof with the weapon, running away from the spot where he supposedly shot from, allegedly, and then they have pictures of him dropping off of the back of the roof. No, we do not have pictures of him during the time at which he shot the weapon. We don't have that. But I'm pretty sure they've got them because they have all the rest of the evidence as far as pertaining to the video evidence. They have the rest of it, so they probably have that too. It's just not been released. I think everybody just needs to, take a minute, step back, and wait till they release the rest of this evidence that they've got. They're trying to put together a case. They're saying that it's black and white, and in this case, I'm going to have to agree with it unless I get something that's very definitive that shows me that these two things cannot go together. But right now, when I look at these anomalies in this case, they don't link back to Tyler Robinson. And if you can't link those anomalies to Tyler Robinson, then I don't believe you've got a conspiracy case. Okay? The conspiracy is this man conspired to kill Charlie Kirk. He may have done it with some of his collaborators and his Trans-Tifa cult or Antifa, maybe even with his roommate. Maybe he just told them about it. Who says that they even egged him on? We don't know any of those things. We just know that he mentioned that in some text prior to. We know that there were some people that were supposedly on Discord, according to the InfoWars network, that mentioned that Charlie Kirk was going to be dead the next day, and then afterward they said, "I told you so." Those things are out there. Kash Patel had said that he was looking into that. Now we're hearing radio silence on that. Is he actually looking into co-conspirators? Maybe they're just looking at getting Tyler Kirk and getting his trial done, or at least locking it down to where they know they have absolute evidence that's going to put this guy in the electric chair or in front of a firing squad before they go on to trying to put his co-conspirators away. That evidence is not going anywhere. So if they have definitive evidence already, they may be looking to it behind the scenes, but they're not openly saying it. So I just want to say, that's just, the conspiracies out there are just going nuts. I don't like it. I'm a conspiracy theorist guy. I've looked into tons and tons of conspiracies. Some of them make sense, some of them don't. And if you can't link them all together, especially like in this case, if you cannot link these anomalies to the actual shooter, then you don't have a conspiracy. It's just you seeing anomalies and assuming they're connected. Not everything is like that. It's just true. Not everything is a broader conspiracy brought down from Israel, or a broader conspiracy that the CIA operatives are working with Tyler Robinson. Now, it is true he was part of the CAI group, which is a feeder group into the CIA, because he was an extremely intelligent person. But there's no evidence he was connected by CIA operatives. There's no evidence he had some kind of a handler. There's plenty of evidence out there that he was propagandized and that he was radicalized, and that he just went out and acted upon that. And that makes sense to me, because that is the intent of the propaganda. That is the intent of radicalizing these people, so that they go out and they can do it on their own, so they don't have to be directed from above. That is the ultimate goal of the people that are propagandizing them to begin with. Know that. So don't think that everything is directed from on high. They're putting the propaganda out there so the people that do it independently, they don't want to have to direct it. That's the intent. They want us to do it on our own. That makes it easy for them, because then they don't have to go into the media and say, oh, we didn't do this, and they have to try to cover up stuff that links it to them. Because they can just deny that it was them, and in truth, there's no direct connection to them. You just have the propaganda that they've been putting out there. They can say, well, that doesn't mean that we told him to go do this. Even though they know very well that it sets the stage and it actually puts it into their minds that they need to go out there and commit violence in revenge for the violence that is being perpetrated upon them in words, not deeds. That's all I got to say for tonight. You guys have a good night. God bless.